Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Gabert, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. Today's guest is Andrea Lynn. She's an intuitive mindset coach who helps entrepreneurs break free from hidden patterns, release limiting beliefs, and tune into their inner guidance to create soul-aligned success. And this sounds like we have a lot in common. So welcome, Andrea, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Andrea, you talk about awakening after life-changing experiences. And I read that you had a near-death experience and you were pretty much dead for 26 seconds, if I remember correctly. So can you tell us about that experience? What happened and how did it change your life?
Yeah, so I was dead for 26 seconds as far as they know at the hospital. When I was put on this tilt table test, I flatlined completely. There was no electrical signal at all, which is usually what happens with cardiac arrest. They'll have some sort of electrical signal and you'll be able to revive people. But that wasn't the case for me. And it was really essentially by the grace of God that I came back. But prior to that event, I had been passing out and we didn't know what was happening. And now we look back and know that I was essentially flatlining and dying over and over again. And yeah, and this was just a huge awakening moment for me because I had suffered severely with depression before and a lot of health issues. And when this happened, I just couldn't help but feel like there was help and guidance from the other side and that I was really meant to be here for a reason and there must be some sort of purpose. And that was really the beginning of me leaning into intuition and knowing that there's answers from the other side. And even within that whole event, that led to me getting a pacemaker, which led to another thing where the pacemaker wire came loose, went through my heart into my lung. And I mean, I continued with life for 3 weeks like that because they actually didn't know what was wrong with me. But the day of that surgery, before that happened, before they put in the device, I knew something was off. And I actually told the doctor, I said, we don't have to do it today. Today doesn't have to be the day. Like if today's a little hard for you. And he's like, no, I got this. It's fine. And, we did it that day, but obviously it wasn't probably his best day. And the wire came loose after the surgery at some point and was piercing me in my lung. So that's when I also started to really look at things like I do know things. I have this sense of knowing from the other side. And I think everybody has that. And that's what I help people to start to learn is how to lean into that intuition and that intuitive insight that we can all have.
It's hard to know whether it's fear or intuition, though, in those moments, right? It could also be just apprehension and being like, maybe today is not the day. So I think for people, it's really difficult to discern between those two. How would you discern between those?
For me, it's starting with questioning and asking yourself questions. Did you go into it, like you're saying, a little bit apprehensive? Were you fearful of the surgery? And maybe that's where it's coming from. And we all have that gut feeling of how many times have you said, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen. I feel like everybody has had those moments in life where you just knew it. And so every time you have those moments, you got to lean into the whole process of that. Like, why did you feel that way? When did you start to feel that way? And start to really feel into the difference of that. And how do you feel when fear hits you? And go back to times in your life where you were really fearful and how you felt. And you can see that the feeling isn't quite exactly the same. And for me too, intuition comes from these moments where it's like, oh, where did that come from? Like it's just kind of this randomness almost, right? It's not something that I was thinking about or trying to bring into my mind. It just popped in. And that's where I know it's coming from another source.
Okay. And can you tell us more about what that experience felt like? I mean, when you came back to life, do you remember anything? Like, what
Well,
happened?
I wish it was this wild, like, oh, I saw so many things in my 26 seconds on the other
Yeah.
side. And it's not like that, but it was a wild experience because when I did come back, because I hadn't had oxygen to my brain for 26 seconds, I had no vision when I came back. I couldn't see at all, and I could only hear, and I could feel all the nurses touching me and telling me it was okay. And I'm thinking, it's not okay. You guys don't understand. I cannot see. And I don't think anybody really knew what was going to happen from there on out, if the vision was going to ever come back, and it did. Luckily, slowly it did come back. But from that experience, it really gave me a whole different perspective in life, where I started looking at things like, what if I didn't have my vision? What if I didn't have my hearing? And all these things that we really take for granted in life, and really prioritizing the things that I was valuing in life.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm a cancer survivor, so
Okay.
I know a thing or two about almost dying
Yeah.
and how it changes your outlook on life. Now,
Mhm.
that said, do you believe that everyone has a soul's purpose, or is purpose something that we create, not discover?
So I do. And something that came to me years ago, which I want to say I don't know where it came from, but I think it came divinely to me. And I really believe that we get this imprint on our souls when we are placed here. Like before we even come here, I think our souls have been through these journeys in past lives. So I do believe in past lives. And I believe that we come here to make changes from our past lives and grow and have this growth. And when we have these intuitive insights, I believe it comes from before we were even birthed here. It was this imprint on, here's what you can do, and here's how you know what to do, and here's your guidance. You got to lean back into this blueprint that you were given before your birth. And I think a lot of people maybe don't think about past lives or believe in past lives, and then it kind of maybe hinders their experience in this lifetime.
So, what makes you believe in those past lives? I mean, is it just this feeling,
It's
or
I mean, it's a feeling, but it's also meeting so many other people that can relate to feeling certain fears and things that they've held on to that don't really make sense, other than this must be something I have experienced before.
hmm? I
Mhm.
wonder if it's sometimes just subconscious imprinting. You're not really aware of where those triggers may come from, but they don't necessarily have to come from a different life. It could just be subconscious, right? Well,
I mean, I really do, though. I really do believe in it. I believe, and I also believe that we will come back if we don't live our lives out how we should. And I just mean, I think the end goal is getting to the other side and having worked through all of our things so that we can live in this eternal like bliss and love and happiness. But you don't get to just go live in that with not having figured out how to live in that. And so you have to work through all that in this lifetime.
so kind of the nirvana idea. So
Yeah.
I get it. So you help people uncover those blind spots we all have. Can you share a time when maybe discovering one of your own completely changed how you ran your business or lived your life?
Sorry, explain that again.
So when you help people uncover blind spots, it
Uh-huh.
usually changes how you show up in your life, right? Can you maybe give an example of how this played out in your own life when you discovered one of your blind spots?
Well, I think like the story I was sharing before, and then even as I went on to have more health problems and getting diagnosed with several other things, Lyme disease, ulcerative colitis, and then even to the point where they thought I had ALS, which was essentially a death sentence. And I really learned from that experience to have no judgment towards other people. And I feel like that really makes me show up differently for others, and also helps others to learn to show up that way as well. And an example is when I was really sick with ulcerative colitis, I had been stuck at home for quite a while. And one day I was finally feeling up to getting out of the house a little bit. So I went with my mom to Home Depot, and I sat at the front by the cash registers because I couldn't walk through the entire store. It was a very large store, and I didn't have the energy for all that, but I wanted to be there. I wanted to be out of the house. And so I just kind of found a place on the floor and I parked it and I sat down. And this guy just came over and like yelled at me for being in the way because he was trying to look at something, I guess, near there. And so that was really an aha moment where I realized, wow, like people are so quick to judge and jump into thinking they know why somebody is doing what they are doing. And I still bring that into my life. And even with clients where it's like, I will never make assumptions that I know why somebody is doing what they are doing. But then that's also where I pull in the intuitive piece, because a lot of people that come to me, they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. And so that's where I use these intuitive psychic abilities to really tap into things that may have happened at their childhood or whenever, to understand why they're operating the way that they do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is something that we've already started to talk about, but I think it's especially true for entrepreneurs that we are kind of often addicted to doing. So we want to do something all the time, but sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between intuition guiding us forward or just fear driving us to hustle more, because as an entrepreneur, we often feel like there's always one more thing to do. You're never really finished. So can you maybe talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. We did kind of touch on this. And for me, when it's feeling that way where I'm, I guess, confusion, right? You're kind of like, which way do I go? Am I doing this because I'm fearful of something, or am I doing this because I think it's the right thing to do? For me, that's when you really got to just pull yourself back, take a deep breath and relax, and then step into this place of meditation or journaling and really start going into this reflection period where you can see if it's like, okay, this is fear driven, or no, this feels very soul aligned. I mean, I really believe we all know when it feels aligned. Does this feel like a whole body yes? Or does this feel like I'm doing this for somebody else or for some other reason?
Yeah, I think that's a skill to differentiate between those feelings, because that's something we don't learn at school, right? We have to really learn how to do that and how to trust those feelings. And once you do, how do you help your clients turn those fears that often pop up because maybe they discovered while they're meditating that maybe it was a fear? So how do we turn those fears into strength?
How do we turn the fears into strengths? Well, if they're just fears, we can just let them go, right? And that's where I help them shift their mindset and their perspective on it and realize that the fear is irrational, essentially, right? And it's about having this rational thinking. And once you can help somebody think very rationally and objectively, that's the goal here, is to be an objective thinker and think about things very factually and not with emotion and feeling, to make it all make sense. So that, because fear is a feeling and an emotion, and we don't want to be making decisions based off of our emotions, especially if you're running a business. And so part of what I do is these intuitively guided conversations with people, and it really helps to wake up and have these aha moments where it's just questioning, but then on their own, they realize like, okay, you're right, or I didn't realize this. And then they start to have that clarity.
I agree partly. Because I think that, as you said, that fears are often so irrational, and they're not really in the mind, they're also in the body. So sometimes I feel that even if you look at fears rationally, you can't get rid of them because they are expressed in your body. I don't know how to explain it. They're kind of like stuck feelings that are not driven by the mind, but expressed in the body, like a tension or something. So it's so that you really have to work through that as well. Sometimes maybe with somatic exercises.
Okay. Yeah.
Like yes.
I did get certified doing brain rewire, and that's also a piece of it too, right? And you want to have your brain be objectively thinking, and you want it to be this balanced thought in your mind, because if you have fear, it's because you're believing more in that than you're not, right? And so then you want to start to see the flip side of things and see the belief on the other side. So then it just balances out. Like, you still may see and understand those fears may be valid, but you can neutralize them, and you can neutralize the feelings in the body as well. I get what you're saying about having this tension or this heart racing. And I agree that it's okay to have fear drive us sometimes a little bit. Like, sometimes we need that as a little bit of a motivator. But if it is to the point where it is really affecting your body, that's also not healthy.
No, it's not. But this is when you have those deep-rooted fears, that you have to learn to reset your nervous system, because your nervous system just reacts so strongly to whatever the trigger is, even though it might not be rational.
Yeah.
I think those are the hardest ones to work with, but also the ones that create the biggest breakthroughs once you get over them.
Yeah, I mean, so with this, I'm thinking of somebody specifically that she came to me because she was struggling so badly to fly. And she's like, I don't know why I'm afraid of flying. I was never afraid of flying before. And now I'm scared to fly, and all these fears. And what we worked through, and I helped her realize, I said, you're not even afraid of flying. You're afraid of dying. That's essentially the outcome here, right? You're not claustrophobic. You're not afraid to be trapped inside this tiny little box, essentially up in the air. Like, that's not the fear. The fear is of dying. And so then it's like, okay, let's go back to, why are you afraid of dying? Where did this come from? How did this start affecting you? And so we actually went way back to her childhood, where she's Armenian, and her family would often tell stories of the Armenian genocide. And it was something, children, we are very visual, and we make a lot of movies in our minds when we hear the stories, right? Mm-hmm. Even my daughter just told me that a week ago. She's like, when you tell me stories, I'm just picturing the whole thing like a movie in my mind. And I was like, well, that's perfect. That's great for processing. But as a kid, when we're overhearing these stories, you can only imagine what a child is creating in their head when they're hearing stories of genocide, right? And so that's where she started to first understand that there could be death coming from out of nowhere, essentially, and all that. And so we had to work through the stuff that she had gone through as a child to kind of alleviate the fear of flying present day. So, I mean, it was a wild thing, because you never would have thought that would have been the connection, I think. I don't think most people would think like, oh, of course, it's from your Armenian genocide childhood.
Yeah, it's a bit of a leap, for sure.
But she flies much better now.
Oh, that's good. Now, what is your personal daily practice for staying aligned? How do you keep whatever you're doing? I'm imagining it could be some sort of rituals that you're doing, but how do you keep them from becoming just another productivity ritual on the to-do list? So how do you keep it fresh and impactful?
I very much just go with whatever feels right for me in that day and in that moment. And, every day is not the same. I don't dedicate, and this is just me, and I know maybe this is not what most would advise. A lot of people have very structured lives. I'm just not the most structured. So it's not like every day at this time, this is my time for this. It's when I kind of start to feel a little bit of that chaos creeping in, that's where I turn in and say, okay, like, it's time. I need to pull back, and I need to start journaling. And I just do some deep reflective thinking on the things that are overwhelming me, and thinking about, why is this overwhelming me, and how can I bring myself back down to an objective thinking place. And sometimes I pull cards. Like, I like to do angel cards. So sometimes I just pull cards to get that guidance from beyond, if I feel like I can't myself intuitively hear and lean into intuitive messages from the other side. So that's where, when it's too hard to do that, you just pull some cards and they will come.
Yeah, I think just taking the time to reflect is probably the biggest thing to do, right?
Really important.
But how do you measure progress when the work that you do is so internal? Do you have something like a success metric for alignment?
For myself?
For yourself, for your clients in general?
Well, I think when you have whatever, well, for clients, if they come to me with a certain problem, the success is known when that problem no longer exists. Or like I was saying with the girl, like she could fly now, right? And she can fly in a much better place without all this anxiety that was taking over her body. And so for me, it's the same thing where I know it's been a success when I feel like I'm moving more freely about the world and I don't feel like I'm being weighed down, and your life just starts to come together more. Things just fall into place, and you just know that, right? When things are like, wow, things are just really falling into place. Like I couldn't stop this if I wanted to. Everything's just happening perfectly.
The flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you think there's ever a danger of following your intuition too much to the point where you ignore strategy or data or advice from other people?
I mean, that's a really good question. I think it depends what your goal is. What is your goal in this life? For some people, depending on what the goal is, you may need to follow the data, right? But for some of us, that may not be part of what we're doing, or some of us are just looking for peace and happiness, and that's different, where you don't need to, you can just lean into what feels right and good for your soul every day.
I agree. You're on a mission to grow, wake up your soul, and reach more people. So what does that success look like if you fully achieve it? Will you just be in flow 24/7, or what else? What does your life look like once you achieve it?
Yeah, it's an interesting question too, because I think about that a lot. I want it to go to TV at some point because I want it to really reach the masses. And it's a show that, it was funny for the people that are super spiritual. I got a notification probably a couple months in after launching it, and it was ranking 111 in the country. And I was like, well, that's a sign. And I thought that was funny. And now it's just top 10% globally. But for me, I also think about myself and my energy, right? When you have something so big, is it going to become an energy suck in an unhealthy way? And so I just keep providing it in a way that isn't sucking all my energy. And so I'll just keep going until it just doesn't feel aligned or right for me. But right now, since it seems to be well liked and changing lives, I'm going to keep going.
Sounds good to me. What is one thing that you used to believe about success, purpose, or spirituality that you do no longer believe in? Because I think oftentimes those beliefs just change over time, and I think it's very good that they change over time. So I'm curious to learn more about that.
That's a really interesting question. I think before I really defined success in a monetary way, and it had to have a lot of monetary benefit for it to be a success. And it's coming down to reality and realizing that how impactful you can be and just changing one person's life, how much that really is a huge success for them, right? Like their life, the one thing that you do to impact their life and bring them success is also bringing you a similar amount of success. So say you help somebody, an entrepreneur, and you help them in their journey and they become wildly successful, but it was because of your guidance. How can you not feel like, okay, like that was part of my success as well? So it doesn't have to be as large of a scale as I used to imagine.
Yeah, I agree. It's the ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
Just change one life and everyone changes one more life and it's all going to be great.
Yeah.
If every ambitious entrepreneur listening could download just one belief from you today instantly and download it into their psyche, what would it be?
I love that question. Patience is just what's coming to mind, because I think even off that last question too, patience is so important, especially when it comes to success. Don't expect an overnight success. And I really think it's important people, if you're not feeling successful, objectively look at it and decide, are you truly not having any success? And if you're not, perfect. That's where you learn, like, this is time to make a pivot. And that's okay. And look at it as this learning moment that you're going to make a pivot, and you're going to take everything that you've supposedly failed at in your mind, and you're going to use that for growth in the future. And don't be afraid to pivot. I think too many people just sit there in their minds failures, and they continue to just keep doing what they're doing and saying it's not working, instead of just, I don't want to say give up, but move on and make that pivot.
Yeah, totally agree. So last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about you or connect with you?
They can find me on Instagram, Andrea Lynn Intuitive, or I don't know if it pulls up on YouTube, but it's Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea Lynn on YouTube. And then my email is just andrealynnintuitive@gmail.com.
Wonderful. Andrea, thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights with us today. It's been great talking with you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Keep up the great work. Take care and talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.